Genevieve.
Hey.
We've finally done it. So welcome to Keeping It Real for Christ.
Man,
Thank you so much for turning up in our little studio here. And you're the first one in here, which is brilliant. So, the funny thing about it is when I was thinking about your story, and I thought, I've heard patches of it, but I have not actually understood or heard the fullness of what you've been through. So I'm actually looking forward to this. I'm actually looking forward to hearing this. I'm looking forward to us chopping it up, and I'm ready.
Okay.
But I'm not going to take much of your time. What I want you to do is just to introduce to the viewers who is Genevieve, where you come from, where you grew up. Just go for it.
Okay. Hey everyone. I'm Genevieve. I am 50 years old.
Wow.
I have 4 beautiful children. I was originally a Londoner. So grew up in Chalk Hill. Chalk Hill.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we went to Stonebridge for a little while. Then we went. Then we did a big move into Harlesden. Most of my years. Went to school, Bronsbury and Kilburn, near Queen's Park. What else? Yes, I've got my siblings, and for my mum and my dad, there's 3 of us. And then I've got a half brother on my mum's side, and then my dad got married, and I've got 3 siblings there. And it's a big family.
You're the youngest, oldest?
I'm the eldest.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
a lot of responsibility.
So I'm the eldest, and my life has been had lots of ups and downs, and that's part of the testimony. But yeah. Grateful to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Amazing. Talk more about your children, because I know your children are
big people.
Lovely family. They're big people. Yeah. We see them all the time.
Yeah. So I had my children quite young, and so my eldest, she's 32, and then I've got twin boys. They are 31 this year.
Wow.
And then my youngest, he's going to be 25 this year. So yeah, and then we've got 4 grandchildren, 1 we've adopted, and my husband, he's got 3.
Dennis,
my husband Dennis, he's got 3 children, and we've got 3 grandchildren on that side, and another one coming. So
really?
It's exciting.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah,
amazing.
So 7 kids between us, and then there's 7.5 babies, grandchildren at the moment.
Wow! So you're blessed.
Blessed.
Your cup is full.
Very full.
And I must say as well, like as in Genevieve and Dennis, obviously, we are so grateful that you look after the kids, and weekends, they just take them away. And that's another story for another day.
That's another story.
We're so grateful.
Good family. I'm just so grateful that you're on this journey, and I'm so proud of you. And I want to do your interview when it's time to hear your testimony, because we need to hear that.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So
you spoke more about you being like the eldest. How was that for you when you were growing up then?
It was a lot of responsibility, in a sense. My mum, she had me when she was 14.
Wow.
So that bringing up a child was a whole journey for herself. My grandparents tried to get involved a lot with helping my mum, support my mum. My mum was in a mother and baby home for a while. She had a kind of funny relationship with my grandparents, and she came to England quite young, and so she was separated from her siblings, separated from her dad, then came here. So that whole thing that she went through, and had her own trauma, and had me at 14, and transitioning from being a child to come to an adult kind of brought more pressure onto me as I grew older, because obviously at that age she's still trying to find herself, she's still trying to navigate her own life, she's still trying to find herself, in a sense, how I reflect on it now. But then for me it was a heavy load, like, because I was still young, having to look after my brothers while my mum wanted to go out, staying, trying to keep these little kids inside.
Wow.
And they want to, and then when my mum comes home, I get into trouble because, I'm not a grown person. I can't manage these
How did that affect your dynamics then, in terms of like as in you being a how old are you?
So at that time, I must have been still in like primary school.
Oh my! So you're quite young then.
I'm quite young, yeah.
So what was the dynamics then in terms of mom being supposed to be looking after the kids, but you end up looking after the kids? What was then your relationship then with mommy? Now did that impact that in any way, or?
Yeah.
Because your childhood was affected, really.
Yeah, I mean, when you're growing up, you don't know any different, isn't it? Each household's different, and my mum was really quite strict in some senses, and that kind of has its own dynamics as black community families at that period of time. You know, we still got beats, you know, you know, which was, I think you definitely need structures within a family, and children need to have some physical discipline, and they need to have some therapeutic discipline. You need to be able to talk to them on a proper level. But for that generation, it was more beat you than have a conversation with you. So, you know, there was always consequences for if things went right and stuff. But at the same time, she was quite relaxed on certain things because she was distracted in her own stuff. So the dynamics for us as in a relational way, it was never really like a proper mother and daughter relationship. So I don't feel like I've ever really experienced the fullness of having a fully connected mother. I feel the stuff that she was dealing with always seemed to overshadow the main priorities of being a mother. I suppose that's why that transcended in me trying to do more for my kids. Because I remember, you know, not having stuff to eat. I remember hiding from the milkman because the milk bill ain't being paid. You know, I remember police coming to the door because, you know, for her to live the life she wanted to live or to supply the needs that we had, she would be shoplifting and stuff like that. So, you know, there was different things. And so that reflected in my own journey and how I brought up my children. So
how did that impact you bringing up your children? You reckon? Because when I see you, Jen, I see you like you're a go-getter, leader, kind of like you know, it makes sense now that you're telling me you're firstborn, because I can see that sort of like that passion that you have. You just do things, and you just literally just when you start something, you just go for it. And do you think that came from that?
I think it's a varied amount of things. As I said before, my grandparents were quite involved in my life, and so I would have a different environment to be in at the weekends. So I knew what it was like to be around a husband and wife. I knew I knew what it was like to go to church, to pray, where I wasn't doing that at home. I knew what it was like to sit at the table and how to use your knife and fork properly and how you dress. And, you know, so there was a different environment and a different view of life in the two different worlds, in a sense. So how I brought up my children kind of implemented not wanting to do all the things that my mum did, but still implementing structure where my grandparents did, and feeling secure in those structures. So.
Wow! So your grandparents played a massive role in your life.
Oh yeah, definitely miss them.
Amazing. Yeah. So fast forwarding now, Jen is in high school. What happens next?
Oof. Well, between the end of primary, from moving to secondary, my mum and my relationship went totally different way. So,
is it positive or negative?
Very negative, very negative in a sense. It was now I'm older, a bit older, in secondary school, the second year of secondary school. My mum gets with a guy, and they have my last sibling, half sibling, and she just, I'm not sure what triggered her or whatever. You know, now that I'm reflecting on it, I still, like my dad, he's got mental health issues, and I see now traits of mental health issues within my mum, as I'm now studying counselling and stuff like that, and then reflecting on how the childhood was. So going into secondary school was not really the best thing. So I didn't end up leaving school with the education that I wanted.
Right.
Yeah, because of the things that were going on within my environment. So I had to, going to school was like a survival mechanism. It was a hiding place more than anything. It was just to have that normality of space, right, in a sense. Yeah.
To come away from home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened in high school? When did you actually finish your high school?
I did sixth form.
Okay.
I did sixth form. Okay. Yeah, but still.
And how did that go for you then?
I mean, it was still. By the time sixth form came, I was kind of like half on the streets, going from sofa to sofa kind of thing, and then having to find work because now mum's kicked me out of the home and I don't have anywhere to really live. So
was there a reason she kicked you out of the house?
Well, as I said, she met this guy. He was a married guy, and she and him had a child, and she just assumed that something may be going on between us, and there was definitely nothing because we didn't like him as siblings. Me and my brother didn't like him. Right. He was quite violent to my mum, and so that caused us stress and worry, concern about her, and so.
You wanted to get away from that environment.
Yeah. So that it didn't feel safe to be home. The accusations and trying to say that's not what I'm doing, this is not what's happening, and then still realize that you're still entertaining somebody that you think that would be doing something like that. So it was a lot.
Wow. So you were out of the house. You're caring for yourself, obviously, couch to couch.
Yep, doing 2 jobs now because I've had to leave school. So I do the hairdressing in the daytime, and then in the evening I work at Domino's Pizza.
Wow, gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah, and then in the evening think, where am I going to sleep?
Really? So how did you manage that?
God's grace. God's grace. I didn't have to physically ever be out on the street.
Wow. Someone will
somebody would always put me up. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. So that was all the way through sixth form? Yeah,
sixth form till now. I'm coming into 16, 17. So that, yeah.
Wow. So then what happens? What happens to you then after that?
So working at Domino's, before I started working in Domino's, while I was going through that transition of leaving home, mum kicking me out, met a really nice guy who I thought at the time, and he was my first, your first love. Yeah, so fell pregnant with him, and but because of the stuff that was going on between my mum and this guy, I knew she would say, that's his.
Really? Wow, she made the connections. And
So because of that fear and thinking, I'm not safe here as it is, what am I going to be doing having this child? And I knew he was really, career driven. He wanted to do stuff with he was doing really quite well. So I didn't want to put that pressure on him. We spoke about it. We agreed that have a termination, and that's what we did.
And how did that impact you? That's a very big decision.
It was a very big decision, and it's still. I mean, I've told my children about it. I'm very quite transparent in them senses, and I still think about, if
what could have been.
Yeah, because if maybe I wouldn't have my 4 beautiful children now. If I would have been in the career that I wanted to be, I could have been doing the acting and the singing and stuff that I wanted to do. All of these things I could have believed I could have done and pursued in a different way. But at the same time, I'm grateful for where I am. And
wow. So now this termination, did you stay with this guy or?
No, okay. That relationship ended after the termination, really. And then now I'm on the borderlines of homelessness and not having anywhere to stay. Wow. I'm working at Domino's Pizzas, and this is where I met my older children's father. And then we got into a relationship, and he didn't end up having anywhere to stay, so we stayed in another friend's house.
Wow.
So that was
That's
messed up. Moving around, yeah, lots of moving around. So we stayed in Fernhead Road. A really beautiful family took us in, and they were they're good cornerstone for my life, really.
Wow.
So the Theophanes, they took us in, and Simon, he's passed away now, and his sister's passed away.
Wow.
But they really supported us, and their mum and dad, Catherine, both of them have passed away, but they were very good to us.
And when was this?
This was in Queen's Park again, Fernhead Road. They looked after us there, and from there we got I was pregnant with Shanice. And then we got a bed and breakfast kind of thing. And then we stayed in Willesden for a little while. And then we moved to Chiswick, and then we moved to Hayes.
So how long did that last, that period, that season of your life?
That must have been about 10 years, 8, 9, 10 years. Yeah.
So now Shanice has come through. And
and we're in Hayes, and then I fall pregnant with the twins. And then and then our relationship breaks down because he's doing one thing, I want to do another thing, and we're still quite young, and we both end up having relationship situationship. Yeah. So the whole thing was a bit messed up and everything like that. And I said to him at the time, like, listen, this is where we are. You can stay in the house and bring up the kids, and I could be the one who comes, whatever one that you feel comfortable with. I just want the kids to have some stability and whatever like that. And so he didn't want that. He didn't want to commit to full-time looking after the kids. So I did that, and and then
in that space that you were as a mother of 3 now, with the twins, with Shanice, what's going on in Genevieve's head? Well,
now I'm a single mum, and
did you have any knowledge of Christ then at all?
Well, just not while we was kind of going through that situation, and before, one of my neighbours, she just started to have a relationship with Christ, and she used to say, Marlene, go away. She'd just be like knocking on the door, where we used to all sit there and bun together and play games and do all sorts of stuff. Now she's coming talking about Christ. I'm like, really? So
what's going on?
She took me to church in Harlesden.
Oh, so you agreed one day?
Yeah. I had to give up.
She was possessive.
Yeah. But I did have an introduction to Christ before that, with my grandparents. Right. And our mum used to send us to church. But I've never been to church with my mum.
Interesting.
Yeah, so she used to send us to church on a Sunday. Yeah, they used to come and pick us up.
Wow.
And then we used to go to church, and that was in Wembley. Yeah. And then they used to drop us back. And then when I used to go to my grandparents at the weekends, my grandparents used to take me to church, and they would buy me a little dress and nice shoes and stuff.
That's nice.
That was nice, and that's where I first sang at church as well.
Really?
Yeah.
We know you're a good singer. We know that.
So that's my first experience of singing in church. Always, that's another story as well. How all through the transitions of the seasons that of my life have been, singing has always been in there, and I didn't really know that was the Holy Spirit giving me songs. Didn't know that was the Holy Spirit comforting me. Didn't know that there was the Holy Spirit protecting me. I would just be crying in those seasons every time, and always a song.
Really?
Always a song.
So you would just find yourself singing
in the big on the street. I'll be just wailing, crying, and singing, just like singing.
Wow.
So that's how I got my introduction into singing at church. Was my first time with my grandparents. And then Marlene, she took me to church, and we went to church in Harlesden. And I remember the first day I actually went, and it was an evening service, I believe they were having, and I don't remember what the word was, but I just remember being at the altar and weeping and weeping and weeping, and it was such a peace, such a refreshing, such a God moment that I had never experienced anything like that before. I never felt a need to cry out in that sense.
Wow.
You know, it was a different, it was a different level. Like, no, like you're not upset because you just got beat. It's not crying because it's a different, you know, it's not because, oh, you just broke up with your friend or your partner or something. It wasn't on that kind of level of crime. It was a deep, it was deeper than that. It was like, I just needed to be where I was at that time, on my knees, crying at the altar and asking him to help me.
Wow.
So
that was the start of your journey.
Yeah.
Really?
That was it.
So then what happened after that then? How did you progress from that?
So started to go to attend the church, did the Bible studies and attend church. Was still transitioning from, you know, I'm still smoking, I'm still, you know, so just still learning, you know, and then I think it was in late 98, 99, then I got baptized. And then I really met these beautiful people who were connected to the church. And Iris, she really showed me Christ. Yeah, she was definitely an angel.
Wow.
And she's passed away now. But everybody she connected with can tell you, you know, how she brought them closer to Christ. You know,
tell me more about that. What does that look like?
Iris, she's one of a kind. Her own testimony was like she struggled with it. Her parents were really faithful Christians, and the whole family's like really strong believers and stuff like that. But you know, she was doing her thing, whatever, and then gave her life to the Lord in her bedroom, and God really transitioned her life to somewhere different, where she was just imparting love in such a unique and wonderful way that everybody who came across her or spent time with her just were imparted with something. And
just the love of Christ oozing through her.
Yeah, so she would come to my house at all 6 o'clock in the morning, like my dad would do sometimes, and she'd be knocking on the door. She's like, Genevieve, like, what? And she would come and we'll be worshiping, we'll be praying. She'll come and tell me off. She'll come and tell me, like, Genevieve, what do you think you're doing? But everything she did, it wasn't to harm me. It was with love. Somebody can try to correct you, but the way they're trying to do it is
such a judgmental
But she did it with such love that made you say, I want to change. I want to do better. I can do better. And with people like her, you knew you could.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm really grateful for the Lord introducing me to Iris.
How was because obviously you mentioned smoking and, I'm guessing smoking weed.
Yeah.
How was that relationship between trying to serve Christ, having this, was it an addiction?
I think it was a coping mechanism.
How was it for you? Just sort of like just blending those two in?
My mum used to smoke weed,
right.
So the people that we used to... it was everywhere that we went, it was there. So it wasn't really a thing. I never started smoking until my late, till maybe fifth forms. Yeah, so it wasn't like I was smoking like from day one.
What got you to smoke then if you hadn't smoked for so long?
I think it was kind of just being in that environment. And there was a boy that I liked, and he used to smoke. This is how it's
always starts like that, isn't it?
Yeah. So I tried it, and then from there it was just like, and then I even still, I wouldn't even. It would be like you do it in that social aspect, not really like you'd have to get up in the morning, and it was more of a social thing. So it wasn't something that I really like to do. I didn't smoke cigarettes. I didn't really drink.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be just like smoking with people in social surroundings, really. And then when I later on, it will be like after the kids have gone to bed, or if I was out or something, it would be not. But
it was so hard to believe that, because you're so health conscious.
Yeah,
it's like I can't even
now I am.
Yeah. Wow. Was it ever a struggle for you to give it up on yourself?
Yeah. Because I've only really fully given it up in the last 5 years.
And how was that for you?
That was a transition in itself, because it was, as I said, a coping mechanism. I didn't really need it during the day. It's only like when I've come home, and then the period of times when I was trying to numb myself from all of the things that were going on. I was struggling with one of my sons, and it was trying to manage how I was feeling emotionally. There was a period my mum moved in with us, and that brought stuff that I didn't think I thought I'd resolved. And, so at the last end of it was the big struggle. It was more understanding. It's not what I needed. It was something else I needed.
So how was that then? Tell me more about that season when you're struggling with your son. How did that look like?
Yeah, so my youngest son, he was just on another journey. I feel like because with the older ones, I was able to be with them more, but then they reached a period of time where I had to go to work full time, and I was still a single mum. And his dad was just met him not a few years after I broke up with the children's dad, and this man had no intention of really being involved, but then finding out that he's got kids everywhere, kind of thing, and knowing that now there was reached a point when I was pregnant that I was thinking, do I really want to do this? I knew I didn't want to have an abortion, but I knew I wasn't ready to have another child. I already had 3. I was on my own, and now the prospects of somebody not being there to support me didn't look inviting to me at all. So I considered, how would I do this?
Manage.
And I just said to the Lord, I can't afford to have him. I don't have the emotional capacity to have this child at the moment. So you're going to have to do this if you want me to have him. And everything he needed was supplied.
Wow.
Everything from, I asked the Lord to help me in that area. He did. He supplied everything for him, and as he got older, and there's questions about, where's his dad, stuff like that would come up, and the other kids will kind of go to their dads at some times, and he wouldn't know, like, why can't he go, So, and then he's fully black, and the others are half white, half Portuguese, and then the color, so there's so much a child and his identity.
So important.
Yeah, and this is where I think he started to propel into an area that he or I wasn't really ready for.
How important is it having fathers in the home?
It's paramount. That's the foundation. I think we think that it's okay to bring up your children on your own as a single mum, or if a single dad has to do that, and it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not fair for that individual to bring up children on their own, and it's definitely not fair on the children. You lose a lot out. The children lose a lot, and you do as individuals lose a lot, because you need that support. You need that financial support, physical support. You need that emotional support. You need to know that when you're having this family, that it's a covering. It's a covering. It's something that you want to feel protected, and even more so if you're both in Christ, it will make it a lot more of a healthier, stronger connection and relationship. But yeah, being a single mum for those periods of time wasn't easy, and trying to navigate being a Christian, or trying to find my own identity in a sense, and having now this son who wants to find his identity out there and to be accepted by out there, because he's not accepted by his father. He feels that his mum doesn't support him in a sense, because she doesn't want to encourage him in the areas that he wants to be in. You know, so therefore, you know, it's a battle, and you're within that battle, I was judging myself. Am I doing the right things? I still need to go and work full time. I've still got 3 other children to provide for. The school's bugging me. Now I've got social services involved. Now I've got the police involved.
Wow.
It was a lot of stuff, and now I'm forming a relationship, and he's not really
involved like that.
Yeah, you know, he's definitely not involved like that. And this is new territory for both of us, because I haven't been there before, you know, having to deal with police and all the school stuff. I think sometimes when we, as parents, you think you've been here before and you should know it all. No, we don't. We don't know it all. And it's a day by day thing that we are learning. You know, no matter whether your kid's great or there's something's going on, it's a new territory for all of us. And I think sometimes people come with expectations and pre-ideas that how we should be dealing with stuff, and you can't. Sometimes you're dealing with things just at that moment.
There and there.
You know, so you don't have time to think. You don't have time to rationalize with yourself. Am I doing the right thing? Can I call somebody? You're thinking at that spot, what can I do now? You know, so that's where part of the coping mechanism comes in, you know, to relax and to chill. Let me unfocus with, let me just have a spliff, and let me, you know, or
of course,
you know,
let my thoughts disappear.
Yeah, let me kind of get away from this. But there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. So it all comes down to, you know, coming back to Christ. So I got, you know, in the late 90s, I got baptized, but then I got rebaptized again in Cornerstone Church. And that was because I was like tired of trying to do this on my own. You know, I can't do this on my own. I can't get the support from my mum. I can't get the support from any of the dads. I can't get the support, you know, I get some support from my partner at the time, but it's not enough. It's because it's not, you know, I can't do this. And, you know, I had to, you know, say, I surrender, you know. So a lot of things happened after that, giving my life back to the Lord again fully. Stop smoking.
Was it just a decision you just made overnight?
Yeah, it was still a transition. I won't say it was overnight, but the heart work needed to be done, because it's when you've come from a place of abandonment, when you've come from a place of rejection, it's hard to see that God wants to take care of everything. You know, I was still holding on to a lot.
Control.
Yeah. So, you know, it was like, okay, if I do this, if I do that, and realizing, no, that's not working, Genevieve. You know, then you get a moment where you say, you know what, Lord, you take over. And then you see how he's taking over. But then that coping mechanism, that reliance on yourself comes back in once you think everything's under control. You know, so it was more of like a cycle and a building of trust to get back fully. And still, I think any relationship still needs a continual building of trust and to know that you're safe. And he really showed to me that he's got me.
So you're now a single mom of 4. You're now fully committed to the Lord, rebaptized. How was that for you in Christendom then? How was that in terms of like, as in the feeling of being in there as a single mom, 4 kids? Was there ever any shame attached to it? Was there ever any struggle in terms of just, sometimes it's hard sometimes when you're worshipping with other people who've got seemingly their lives to get sorted.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
I mean, it can be difficult at times, especially when you yourself see other people with their families. Maybe they're not even reflecting on you as, you know, as, oh, they're just single mom or whatever. But when I used to go to church in Harlesden, it seemed okay because there was other single mums. So, you know, it seemed okay to be in that surroundings, and I didn't really notice this that much. But when I came to like Cornerstone, a lot of people were married and they were still quite young, and they were been together for many years and stuff like that, and got their families and things like that. So it was, you know, wanting them. Now my children are much older, the majority of the ones in Cornerstone, because I had mine a bit younger. So my children wouldn't always want to attend church at that time, where when we was in Harleston, they were still younger. Every Sunday, every Wednesday for Bible study, we'd get on the bus, get to Harleston from Hayes and go, you know, so everybody knew Genevieve and her kids, you know. But as the transition with time, going to Cornerstone and worshipping, it, you know, it was more me would think, you know what, I would like to be here with my husband, or I would like to be, you know, as a family unit, come to church once in a while. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it was more of that in a sense.
Wow. Wow. You mentioned husband there. We might as well get into it. We might as well get into it. But before we do that, so then you spoke about your son and obviously his identity issues and stuff. And how did you all reconcile, and how did you move forward from that?
Well, we're still in the reconciliation stage. You know, his choices led him to a place where, you know, I didn't want him to be. So currently he's in prison. He'll be out soon. But yeah, that whole thing was a journey in itself, because you have to make choices, as hard as they are, to say, like, for example, I would say to him, you can't do what you're doing and live here, you know, and then I kick him out. That's not what you want to do, but that's what you have to do, because the things that he was trying to secretly hide in my house or to bring trouble to the house, that's not me. That's not what I moved out of Harlesden for. You know, I wanted to bring security and safety and protect my children as much as I could from that kind of life. So now it's coming to my front door. So I had to make choices that I really didn't want to have to make. And I said that to all of my kids. I said, listen, I wasn't really into this police thing, because I've seen it happen at my mum's place. And I wasn't really into that. So I said to them, look, you get into trouble with the police twice, don't call me on the third time. Yeah? Because the first time it could have been like, you know,
mistake, whatever.
Second time, give you a blight. You know, third time, so what? Because police called me on the third time, and I was like, sorry, but you can't call this number, because I don't condone this behavior. So if that's what they want to do, they must want to be there. You know, so
it's become a pattern now.
I'm not doing that. So you know, even the police officer, he said, look, if more parents did that, you know,
more supportive.
Because at the end of the day, yes, the police can give you some aggro and stuff like that, but you have a choice also in what you're trying to do and what you want, and that's not what I wanted for you. So you know, when you're putting yourself in that position, you have to deal with the consequences. You know,
must have been so stressful.
But, yeah, it is stressful, because you want the best for your children. I've done the most talking. I'm a very open person with my children. You know. And I've told them plenty of times, I'm not a perfect mum. You know, I'm not a perfect wife. I'm not a perfect friend. I'm not perfect. You know, so we need to talk. You know, I want to work with you. I want to support you the best that I can, but with the resources and the ability that I have, this is all I can do. So how can you work with me? You know, so I was having those conversations, like even doing little contracts, like, well, you go to college and I'll do this, and if you do that, you know, kind of thing. Just because you got something else in your head, that can't work. So therefore, don't expect me to allow you to do what you're doing and still live here. So
you've worked really hard, Genevieve, because I see your children now, and I'm thinking, I see Shanice, and she's like your sister. She's taken up.
She thinks she's my mum.
Oh my goodness, she's taken up like literally your personality, the things that you do and stuff, and she's just really loving and really welcoming. And when you're around them, every time you invite us to your, you know, your dues and your family and stuff, it just feels like we're part of your family.
Yeah.
Because of you, obviously, and Dennis, but at the same time, because your children are very lovely.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember, you know, just talking about them when we were driving back one time, and we're just thinking, wow, it's so nice. You don't see a lot of people like that.
Yeah,
so it must have been a lot of work that you had done to sort of like instill that in them.
Oh, definitely with my daughter, because I never had that mother relationship, and that was my key of fighting and seeking God. You know, that she still remembers times. She says, I remember times, Mum, when you're in church and you got all the women around you and you're just like, Lord, please help my child.
I'm the child. It's me she's talking about. I cried about.
Help my child. You know, because I was like scared. I don't want to have a relationship so distant with my child. That's why I think as well, kind of the lines are a bit blurred. But I wanted to fight for my family. And I felt, you know, I had to make sure every bill was paid on time. So if they didn't have the shoes that they needed, because I didn't want that person to come to my front door. I didn't want them to feel like they couldn't have certain things. I did my best, and sometimes they didn't always have what they would have liked to have. But when even it was just recently, a few years ago, one of them said to me, Mum, I didn't even realize we were poor. You know, because I tried to maintain, you know, giving them what I could. And sometimes I'd have to save them £2 coins, then £1. I had to, you know.
You gave them your time.
You know, as when I could. And, you know, I built my relationship with my kids, and that's why I really appreciate it. And I still fight for my kids' relationship. You know, even my youngest one, you know, I've prayed about it. I've done counseling on it. I've spoken to him about it. I've written about it, because I don't want anybody to feel that I've rejected them or abandoned them, because I know what that feels like.
Wow.
You know, as much as I've had to make choices that you may not have liked, it wasn't with a heart of malice. It wasn't with a heart to give you an injustice or to do you any harm. It was to try and direct you in the right way. You know, and now, like, they can say to you, okay, I understand why you made that choice, Mom. I understand why you did that. And I can say to them, I'm sorry as well. You know?
Which is something that we don't really do sometimes as parents, isn't it?
No.
Would you encourage that?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. You need to, because there's sometimes we're working out of ourselves. Remember I said to you about being in the moment. Sometimes you're making choices in that moment because you're hurt. You're making choices because you're hungry, you're tired. You know, then the things are happening in that time, or you're just not feeling well. We make choices in the moment that sometimes backfire on us, you know, and when those moments come and when you have that time to reflect and have that self-awareness, you need to be honest with yourself. Did I really show up as my best at that moment in time? Because sometimes we don't. And if I've done something and I realize I've done something, that means I need to be able to repent for it. And if somebody comes to me and says, Genevieve, you've done this and this is how you made me feel, I should still be open to receive that.
So basically keep humble, keep humility, even with your own children.
Even when you're hurting. When you're hurting.
There's some single mom who has just found Christ out there. What would you say to them? Young, walked into the church, trying to serve God, probably in the same situation as you, looking around and thinking, wow, these people have got it all together. How do I pursue the dreams that I have in Christ, or for God to even use me as a person who's made so many mistakes and also different things? What would you say to that person?
Don't look to the world to validate you. Because that's what I was doing, trying to find validation, find acceptance, find love out there, when he was the one who really loved me. So it's, as I said before, it's that building of trust. And sometimes you've got to keep going. It's the consistency in showing up and asking him to show himself to you. It's that consistency of being around people that are speaking positivity, that are godly centered. You know, it's about being in environments that make you feel safer. You know, you have to place yourself intentionally in surroundings that will help you to heal, to grow, to believe, to your faith to rise. And it's not always easy, but you have to, you know, he separates us. You know, he's chosen us. So therefore we need to believe that his choice is correct.
Wow.
You know, and it's not always easy. Don't think it was easy. It's a struggle to do that and to believe that, especially when you're surrounded by hurt people.
Right. What does that look like?
It's hard because at the end of the day, we are all broken
hurt
people.
hurt others.
Yeah, we're all hurt people.
Yeah.
No matter if you think people have got it all together, they don't. You know, we all are made the same. Our experiences may be different, but they all come from a same broken world.
Wow. Interesting. So then, fast forward again, you spoke about hubby.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about that season of your life then. How did that all come about?
That's when I was on my backslide.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, so initially when I had my youngest son, I did my hairdressing course. And then one of the ladies that I was working used to do the course with, she said somebody needed a secretary. So I was like, okay, it's in Norfolk, it's not far. And they said I could bring the baby. Oh, wow. So I was like, okay, that's good. So he was a little baby and I used to bring him down, and Dennis used to be self-employed. So he had his own business in construction. And he was a moody man. I didn't like working for him at all.
Come a long way.
But you can see now on reflection, he was stressed. He had lots of things, doing this business on his own, he brought up his 2 girls on his own, you know, from a broken relationship. So he had a lot on. So when I came to just do his sectorial stuff, you know, it wasn't like, hi, how are you? No, it was in, out and bye. So yeah, I didn't stay there that long.
Really?
Yeah.
You quit?
I quit. And then I met him maybe another, I think my youngest son was turning about 6, 7.
Wow.
Yeah, so I met him just before he was turning 7. So yeah, and then...
And where was this then, where you met?
I was coming to the B&Q in Hayes, and he was obviously he's in construction, so he's gone to buy some tools or whatever he was buying, saw me, and then he was trying to chat me up, and I wasn't really having it.
The moody boss. Not having it.
So, but he was persistent.
Wow.
He was persistent. Yeah. So, and at that same time, I was still in a little precarious place, you know, so I was still working on my relationship with the Lord, and 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing. So, yeah. So, yeah, we met in that season, but we've been together 17 years altogether. Wow. We've just celebrated our 10th year anniversary.
Amen.
Yeah. So it's been good. It's been good. He's a good man. He's a good man, but he's been definitely challenged, especially with my youngest one, when we was going through that very challenging time. And because, as I said, having identity, that struggle that my youngest son was having, and then feeling that somebody's now taking over mum's time, was a bit of a challenge as well. So, yeah, so that was challenging. And
how was that for you in that process, Dennis?
Oh, that was really hard for him. That was really hard for him because, I mean, he was bringing up girls. He's never had that problem of, I mean, as I said, nobody experiences that. And then, you know, we don't know what that experience looks like until we're in it.
Yep.
So we're both experiencing something, but his expectations is like, I should deal with this stuff and it's my responsibility. So what are you doing about it? So then having that pressure of this person who I'm thinking, well, you're coming to be with me. You know, I got 4 kids. Why am I not? My expectations and his expectations totally different.
Wow.
So, you know, with that becomes some resentment, some that's just a whole different thing. But yeah, that's you know, we were all hurting in this situation. So, you know, my son was experiencing his own stuff. Me and my partner was experiencing stuff between us. Then the dynamics of now you want to have a relationship with both of these people, but these people are not getting on, you know. It was really, really hard. It was very stressful. Wow. And then that stress triggered Graves' disease, autoimmune system.
On you?
On me.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's where I started to get into changing my my health and stuff like that.
Stress related?
Stress related.
Wow.
Yeah. Triggered autoimmune disease. Yeah.
Wow.
So I ain't claiming that anymore. But God showed me, like, even just by me eating and starting working on my mental health and doing my physical health, how your body can heal.
Wow.
Yeah.
We know you do a lot of fasting.
I do a lot of fasting.
A lot of running.
Well, I haven't done a little running for a little while, but I'm trying to get back into that. Yeah.
I know you're into your fitness.
I do. That's the thing that's helped me through my mental health and all the stress and everything. That is the thing that really helped me in that season, especially before we left London and my son was going through his stuff and it was coming to COVID. So you had a bit more time to sit with yourself. Now I'm not going into the office and my mum's living with us, and I thought that I had come to a place of acceptance with the relationship that I had with my mum, but didn't realize having her in my home would stir up other stuff. So that was another emotional thing I was going through, the rebounds of abandonment, rejection, jealousy, like when she's talking about my brothers and the relationship they have and what she's done for them. And I'm thinking, like, girl, you weren't even there for me, but you're backing up these people who are doing totally wrong stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So, all that kind of brought a lot. So it felt really, 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 really heavy for me.
Sounds quite toxic.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was a lot of toxicity in my home.
How did you get through that? How did you?
It was a challenge. I didn't think I was going to make it at one point. Seriously, I didn't think I was going to mentally be able to make it. And as I said to you, my dad suffers with mental illness, and majority of that side of the family do. So that has always been in the back of my mind whenever I'm dealing with stress. Is this the thing that's going to break me?
Wow.
So,
and what were some of in those moments, what were some of the scriptures that you would go to that would really encourage you?
It's the Lord is my shepherd. Just having that peace that surpasses all understanding, and even just knowing, having a sound mind. You know,
so He has given us a sound mind.
Yeah,
not a spirit of fear.
No, but I have to have the love. So that's challenging itself. Having love in that time when these people that you're supposed to be loving, you don't find you can love them well.
People are rejecting you, causing you stress, not appreciating you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've spoken about a lot of things there. What would you say is one thing that you can pick and choose and say, this moment here, I would say is probably one of my toughest moments in my Christian journey? I know you got a lot of stories, so this is a hard one. But what would the one thing that you remember and you think, ooh, this one here, this nearly got me? And how did you survive through that?
Yeah, there's been quite a few, and but I think most recent, because it's propelled me into a different directory. Is the season I went through with my son, and especially, as I said, coming to COVID, it was a time where I had to sit with myself and then think about what I could have done differently. It was a time of really having to learn to forgive myself, to forgive my husband, to forgive my son, and to think, do I have a hope? Do I have faith? Do I really see any? Because I was like, when you deal with abandonment, it doesn't just affect that you're being rejected and that you are not valued. It also spills out into your finances.
Wow.
It also spills out into your relationships that you build. It spills out into your confidence within yourself. And do you have self-worth? Do you love yourself?
Elaborate more. So what does that mean? That's very interesting.
Well, if somebody rejects you, what is it about you that they're rejecting? You're unaware. So now you start to think, is it this? Is it that? So now you're prejudging yourself. You're doubting yourself. What is it? You're trying to seek in so many different avenues that it becomes a bit too much, isn't it? because now you don't know who you are, what you can give, and what the future looks like.
So your identity is even challenged in those moments. You're not sure of who you are. Wow. How do you heal past that, Jen?
Well, as I said, I've been doing a lot of work when I moved from London. That was just like, I remember when we was packing up the house, I left my husband there to do some other bits, and I moved up to Wellingborough, and I got him to set up the bed and everything. And that day I cooked the food, the heating was on, and he thought down in London that I was going to come and spend the night. I said, this is it. Done. Cut everything off. And from that day, I was just like, I'm done living in this past tense thing. I can't keep blaming myself. I can't sit here being accountable for other things that other people have done to me. I can no longer carry their load and carry my own. You know, so from then it was just like started doing the healing work. So before I left Hayes, I started to do the couch to 5K run. So you'd run a few minutes, walk a few minutes, and I started to build 5K, 10K, came up to almost 15K running before I left there. I stopped smoking. Then, as I said to you before, I got diagnosed with Graves' disease, this autoimmune disease.
So what does that affect? What does that?
So you just get really tired. Your body's fighting against itself, really. So you really get tired.
That. You're so energetic. Wow.
But even still now, I do checks, especially if I'm feeling a bit low and like I don't have any energy. I just double check what's going on with my thyroid. So basically it's your thyroids. So your thyroids take care of everything. Your body temperature, your brain, your immune system, everything. So everybody needs to take care of their thyroids. A lot of people have low thyroid, so if they've got low thyroids, they can put on weight, where this one was the opposite for me. I'd get really, really skinny.
Really?
And I just have no energy. I remember not understanding what was going on, and I'd just let this thing be happening to me. And I went to the doctor one day, and she was like, "What is going on with you?" She couldn't believe I couldn't even stand. She had to call the ambulance. They had to take me to the hospital, and that's when they found out. And then they gave me some medication that they have to make, and then said, "Well, if this continues at the rate that it's going, you're going to have some chemotherapy and stuff." And I was like, "Hello."
Wow.
So I was like, "Nope." I had a meeting with my family. I was like, "Listen, this has been stress activated, and I really don't want to be getting stressed because I don't want to be dealing with this thing." So that was maybe the beginning of October 2013.
Wow.
20 end of 2013, coming up to 2014. And so I said to them, "No, I'm not doing this." So went on holiday in mid-October, and I thought, just the Lord kept saying to me, "You need to change the way you're eating.
Really?
You need to change the way you're eating." So, you know, I love meat. I love the oxtail, the rice and peas, the curry goat, everything. You know, I like them things.
Yeah, I love that.
So it was like, no, you can't have any of that. You are going to go vegetarian while you're on this holiday. So while I was on holiday, I went vegetarian and felt a little bit better. Came back and I went vegan for 2 years. And
wow.
In the first 6 months of going vegan, I had another review with the GP, the specialist now, the consultation. They did my bloods and everything, and they couldn't find it.
Sorry?
They couldn't find it.
Gone.
She's like, what have you done? What are you doing? I told her. She's like, don't believe it.
Wow.
So just by changing my diet. So I'm like, if this can happen when you just change your diet, what else can happen?
What else can change? Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, that's what happened. And then I just propelled on my healing journey from there.
It makes sense now. Why you're so like into your health and wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
So now you're fully healed?
Yes, as I said, I do have little checkups now and again, and they do say it's the thyroid levels have gone up just a little bit now and then, but then I can know those seasons and then I adjust what I'm doing and how I'm feeling.
What you're eating.
Yeah, I do check what I'm eating. I do breathing techniques. I help to cleanse my lymphatic mode system. So like body tapping, because you have different areas in the body that need to be generated, because we do a lot of sitting down. We don't do a lot of activity. We're not bouncing up and down. So our body's not releasing a lot of toxins and stuff. So these areas in the body can help to clear some of the toxins that are building up in the body and affecting our lymphatic system. Stuff that we're not eating properly or looking after ourselves well, we affect our gut, and everything works from your gut. So we need to really be careful about improving our gut health so that we can mentally and physically and spiritually get connected in the right way.
Yeah, it's important to be well physically as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it says you have to, it's a mind body thing.
Amazing. Wow. That's blowing my mind. That's amazing. I didn't know that. That's amazing. That's amazing. So obviously you got married now. The healing process starts with your thyroid issues and all sorts, and all these things are going well for you.
Yeah, I mean, moved down into Wellingborough. Things started to really start to, like, I started to forgive myself, did that healing process. I did, when I first moved down here, I did an introduction to counselling. That was partly because we've got a grandchild that we've adopted, and I wanted to have the vocabulary and the sense of gaining more listening skills to interact with her. Also, as I said, my youngest is in prison. I wanted to understand more and to be more open when we started that healing process. At the time I didn't think we would have it, but that's happening.
Wow.
But in that season as well, me and my husband, we were now in a house by ourselves, and now there's no children to distract you. So it's like, do we even like each other? And
that's real.
That's real. Because now
tell me more about that. That's real. Now you say it. That's real. Okay.
Yeah. So you've already come now. We've left London. We're both now trying to navigate who we are in this relationship. What do we really want? As I said, expectations make a big difference to relationships. If they're not realistic or they are not talked about to build, then we're just walking around with two different ideas on how this marriage is going to work. There's a big difference in age between me and my husband. There's 18 years difference between us.
Don't look it.
So, that age difference makes a difference. And then all the hurts that we experienced in London, now they're
feeling through that.
Yeah. So it's been a real journey. Like right now, we're in a really good place, but we've had to work on it. We've really had to work on it. And I thank God for him doing that work within me, with the eating, and with the mental work and the physical work, because it all came together through that. Because now, there was so much hurt and anger and resentment and disappointment and fear and anxiety and stress and, from everything that I've been through and he's been through, that it could have been dangerous in the way we reflected that. And sometimes it was the way we spoke to each other, the way we interact with each other. Sometimes you go a day without saying anything to each other and you don't even know why. You're angry for no reason.
All sorts. You're holding
on to stuff. Yeah. So we had to start to learn to talk to each other. Wow. Talk to each other like, what are you honestly feeling, and making it a safe space, because, sometimes you want to hear what people have to say, but can you accept what they're really saying to you?
Wow. Wow. So what would you say to someone who's struggling in their marriage now, in that situation, in a place where it's just literally at war with each other, those seasons when people are just going for it? What would you say to them?
Well,
just as a mother, just as a wife, what would you say to that young woman now who's struggling?
I'll say, if you're in a partnership with somebody, that you need to know who you are. you need to know who you are first, because you can't live for somebody if you don't know who you are. You know, you can't give somebody what you don't have. So learning to forgive yourself, love yourself, do that work in yourself, and that other person, you need to encourage that other person and support the other person to do the same. But then you need to come together and communicate really well. Just be black and white. Be honest, because if you can't be honest with your partner, who else are you going to be honest with? And it's not always easy, because we always feel judged. You know, we always feel like, oh, I've got to say the right thing just to keep the peace. You know, but you have to say the truth. How do you really feel? What is the things that are annoying you? It could be like simple things. Oh, you just put that cup there and you walked away.
Yeah, wait, it's real.
It's real. I'm like, really? Even before I left my home, I was like, babes, really? You leaving that there?
What are we doing here? We're leaving the cup now.
Yeah. But it's like little things, the big things. You got to discuss them on. You got to be real and honest about it. And that is just building up a vocabulary that you both can listen to. Because sometimes one person might want to speak, but the other one doesn't want to hear. But you got to get that common ground to say, look, this is the time that we're setting to talk about this, you know. And sometimes this conversation can be not just done in a day. It has to take months. It might take weeks, to have years to have the proper conversation, but it's worth start investing in it. You know, so just be open to talk to each other, and most importantly, find who you are, because that person liked you for a reason. But do we all put a pretense when we meet somebody, so that nobody really fully knows you? You know?
Wow.
So you've got to love yourself. Like, I'm loud, you know. I'm energetic. In a very good way. I can be really random, spontaneous. Brilliant. And sometimes I just want my real quiet space. I don't want to talk. I don't want to see nobody. You know, I can get like that. And that's okay for me to do that, because I know me. But I need you to know that that's me. And it doesn't mean that I'm not liking you or loving you at this time. This does not mean that, you know, I want to embarrass you because I'm being loud and whatever. It's just who I am. And if we can't accept each other, and yes, there's going to be some kind of compromise with anything. Of course. But the main body of that person, you've got to say, do you know what? I love you for who you are. I love that. Yeah. And then that's most importantly, you've got to have Christ in the center. I mean, I've struggled with that in my relationship, because my husband, you know, he's had a traumatic relationship with faith because of other experiences that he's had. So, you know, I'm the main believer, but you've got to have Christ. I need Christ in my relationship. I have to be even more hungry for Christ now, because I don't have that person to, come on, babes, let's pray. Come on, let's go to church together. Most of the times I'm going to church on my own, you know, but I'm still praying for my husband to come, and he's coming now. Like we said, like, come every second Sunday. Let's start with that. Start with that. Yeah. You know, I mean, as I said, I met my husband when I backslid, and I compromised, even knowing that God wouldn't have wanted that for me. But that's what I chose, and I have to deal with the consequences of it. You know, anybody who does something, who, you know, if you say to your child, don't touch the fire, and they touch it, they got to deal with the consequences of being burnt. They got to go through that process of it being healing. You know, there's different stages of healing. So there's different stages of the consequence that I chose for my marriage life. Wow. So, and I have to live with it. But at the same time, I still believe God is faithful. I still believe God loves me. I still believe God wants the best for me, you know, and that he goes before me and he's pathing a way for me, you know, that he's never forsaken me. You know, in every season that I've been with, he's never forsaken me. Wow. He's always been there, you know, so I trust him in all the seasons. I have to. I've got nowhere else to go.
Like, that's what Peter said, isn't it? To whom shall we go to? You know, you have the words of eternal life. Wow, you've kept it real, Jen. I didn't know it was coming this angle. I could talk to you forever. This is amazing. This is amazing. What would you tell 14-year-old Genevieve now that you've come through And you're getting through all this. What would you tell that young girl?
I don't know. I'd have to sit with her and just hold her. Because if she has to go through all of this, she has to just have faith. Because there's nothing else. I'll just have to hold her.
Wow.
Yeah, because there was no one. I couldn't turn to anyone. You know, my dad had mental illness. I didn't want to let him know all the stuff that was happening. Tried to turn to my grandparents. You know, couldn't get the help there. Had to turn to strangers and friends. You know, so I'll just hold her and say it's going to be all right. It's going to be rocky. You're going to still go through some ups and some downs, but it's going to get better.
Wow. 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 Your story. This is, I know there's so much more. I need to get you back here again. Honestly, I really do. Because I know there's a second part to it. So, I don't know. Where can people find you? Like, how do people get hold of you? You know, where can we find you?
Yeah, so you can email me at intentionallyhoping@gmail.com.
And that's your podcast?
Yeah. We're still working on the podcast, people. I had a bit of a break and I'm coming back.
Yeah.
So, but the Instagram is intentionally_hoping. So you can find me there too. And it's just a work in progress. And also I'm doing some detoxing, as you said.
Yes.
So we do quarterly detox. So if you want any information on that, we do like juice fasting. I give you information about how the body's working and how eliminating waste and helping yourself to heal, because we can heal from everything. Cancers, all sorts of stuff, depression, Alzheimer's, all sorts of things. We can adjust and recover from these things if we change how we're looking after our bodies. So if you want any support in that, just email on intentionallyhoping@gmail.com.
Thank you so much. For making this time. I know it's just really late and but you just still came anyway. On time, on point. No black people's time.
Well, I don't like that time.
So thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
Please subscribe, notification bells, and just keep supporting the channel. We want to grow. We want Genevieve's testimony just to go beyond just England to the world, so people can get encouraged with this message. I'm encouraged. I knew that there was a powerful testimony, but I just didn't know how deep it was, and it's deep. It's very deep. But we're going to have you again. So thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming down.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.